Welcome to Business Talk Radio. Today we are joined once again by our very special guest, Chris Lippincott, the MontClairMedium, better known as, here on Zoom as well as on the radio today. How are you doing?
Hey, Jill, how you doing? Great to see you.
I like to see you face to face. It's
I know.
so much real, right? The telephone, don't get me wrong. But hello, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself, of course, to our listeners and viewers.
Sure. So who is Chris Lippincott? I'm a psychic medium and best-selling author. And really, I find that my passion is helping reunite people with loved ones in spirit, because it's really the love of spirit that is enabling people to transform themselves and really awaken to spirit's love. And I think what I love to do is help people understand that our consciousness survives what's physical death. It's that transition into an alternate reality, an alternate energy space. I think that's really what's so critical. And how do we learn how to do that? It's really opening our minds and allowing ourselves to just expand, because it's not just the physical aspect. I mean, you can talk about quantum physics and understand how it becomes a completely separate thing. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's what I love doing, and it helps people heal and comfort, and it's that healing and comfort that I love to provide people.
Oh, that's amazing. I got to point out, though, like a child, when you were growing up, did you always know you had this talent, this gift, this ability, or did you not know, until later in life? And could you even realize what it was when you were younger?
No, that's a great question. I mean, when I was younger, I knew something was happening because I could talk to the quote unquote, invisible playmates,
yeah.
right? And I was having a grand old time talking to all these people. The thing I didn't pick up on was the fact they could talk back to me. I didn't pick up on that. I'm like, oh, this is great. I've got a phenomenal imagination, right? And that kept on going for years, until I was like maybe, 8 years old or something like that. And I was also quite hyperactive. So I was a little bit different than some of the other kids, but I thought that was okay. But as a child, I started also sensing some strange things going on. Like when I'd go to bed at night, I'd feel like a hand on my back, and I didn't have any siblings. And I knew my parents were at the opposite end of the house, right? So I knew it wasn't them. So
And
I'm thinking like it's
scream and flip out and call anyone, or you just
no, I just pulled the sheets over my head. I thought
you're brave.
I thought it was like the monsters,
You're brave. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they're coming by, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be terrible. And eventually, things like that. I would hear voices in my room. I'd hear and feel tingling energy around me. So I didn't know what to do. I just eventually got so scared, I basically suppressed it for probably 3 decades or so, until finally later in life I had a spiritual awakening when the portal reopened. We can go into that some more, but it was really that gap, if you will, when I maintained this voracious appetite of reading everything spirit related, whether it was regarding near-death experiences, or mediumship, or getting into the spirits of the physical, or reading spirit writings. Everything that was, I couldn't stop reading it.
But back when you were a child, were you scared of what was happening? Did you run and tell your parents? What did they say?
Yeah, there was a time where I'd go through our big old living room, which was like an old converted barn. So it had the dark spaces, and I was thinking, oh God, this is gonna be terrible. And I'd fly through into their waiting open arms. I try to explain to them what's going on, and they're very agnostic, very traditional. They're like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. So I'm sitting there quivering, trying to explain what I'm going through, and they're like, yeah,
it's okay, honey. Don't worry. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. And so they weren't the most receptive to what you were saying.
Not the most receptive, no.
And weren't understanding. So did you just feel like you had to keep it in and not tell anyone anymore?
Yeah, that was probably kind of why I eventually kind of, suppressed it, thought to myself, okay, well, I'm, there's something wrong with me here. Nothing's really going right. I got monsters under the bed. I got things coming after me. I'm hearing voices. I got a screw loose somewhere.
But not really, because you know, you went on, you had a whole career in, would you mind just sharing with the audience? Because it
Yeah,
wasn't like
sure.
you always were, you've always had the ability and the gift, you suppressed it, but you went on to, what was it
Yeah,
exactly?
I went into finance, and I had a good career in finance, and that got stressful unto itself. You can imagine I was going absolutely nutty with finance and investments, and it was that stress that ultimately got me into meditation. And that's when I learned all about meditation, because I was seeking a way to alleviate the stress.
Yeah.
So once I started learning about meditation, initially I was like, oh, these meditation people are kind of silly. I found something that actually I could make sense of. Did that for about a year every single day, just to kind of cool my jets, as it were.
Yeah.
But at the end of 12 months, next thing I know, I'm in my man cave on a weekend doing a 30-minute meditation. And that's all of a sudden when the portal opened up. I didn't even expect it.
Oh my gosh. Was anyone home when this happened?
Yeah, my wife was home, and that was when it was. I'm in my meditation, and there are these four spirits in my mind's eye that came to me, and the one I can still remember to this day. The one all the way to the farthest right was like the biggest and tallest, and he shot like a beam of energy straight through my chest, out through my back. And I'm thinking, wow, this is a pretty fantastic dream, right?
Yeah, I must
The
be
only
dreaming.
problem was I could physically, tangibly feel the entire energy. And it's like all of a sudden, I'm just feeling like this expansive love, this
Oh,
unconditional
wow.
love, spiritual love that, I didn't even begin to touch, the meaning of human love. It was the divine love. And I felt connected to the universe. It was amazing.
So when this is over, do you run outside and does your wife think you're crazy? Like, what are you talking about?
I
Energy?
didn't know how to explain it to
What?
her.
Went through you? What?
Yeah, I didn't know how to explain it to her. I thought that this was something that was pretty, this is also when I started thinking to myself, I may have a screw loose.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. So I guess this is what inspired you to become a medium, or you always were a medium. So I don't even know if I can ask that question.
Oh,
What
right.
inspired you to become a
I
medium?
would say that that would be the time that's when the portal reopened, because it was right around then I started feeling the energy again. I started feeling all the tingling again. I started saying to myself, this is now I can hear the voices again.
Mm-hmm.
And I started seeing my deceased relatives. I started seeing all these other people. I started feeling really calm, and I could start to feel the connections.
That's
And
amazing.
that's when it just started picking up and opened up again.
Amazing. All right. So, can you give us a little into depth of how it actually works for a reading? If somebody does come to you, I know you're doing a lot of virtual readings. Clearly, at this point, now you found a newfound business sitting at home, just like myself. So, what is it exactly? How does a reading work? Somebody comes to you, and could you go through the mechanics of that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. One of the most important things about a reading, when I'm doing it, is really learning how to enable myself to almost be out of my mind, allowing myself to step out of my consciousness, as it were. I'll get down and sort of focus on the fact that I'm spirit in the incarnate, and learning that I am working with spirit that's trying to come through me. And I'm essentially allowing my spirit mind to step into the alternate reality, inviting loved ones' spirits to draw near, paying attention to my aura. And as I feel the energy coming into my aura, I start to learn and feel the personalities of people. I learn the personalities of all the different loved ones, the characteristics of their things, their hobbies, and everything else. So it's really, that's what's so important, learning their traits. And then as we do that, we also work with the different aspects of what are the messages they want to share. And you can go on and really get very detailed, but those are some of the most basic things.
Got it. Wow. Okay. So let's talk. People come to you, obviously, they want to contact someone usually who's passed, right? That's usually what they come to you for. Are you guaranteed to contact that person when you sit with them for a reading, or no?
No, I don't guarantee that we're going to get a reading. I mean, there are times where the energy is not right either. Maybe it's possible that the sitter may be just really upset, and the energy is so negative, so upset, that the energy cocktail, as I call it, between the sitter, myself, and spirit just isn't enough to sustain a solid link. Other times, maybe it's me, maybe I'm not in the right frame of mind, or perhaps spirit may be doing something themselves. They may be actually in an activity that needs work, or maybe they're in what I refer to as a spirit rest home, so they're not available.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say 90% of the time, we're always going to get some kind of contact. So yes, that would, and there are times where, I'll, just today, in fact, I had a client where it was so beautiful, and it contrasted to, a prior reading where the sitter was just very negative, and the energy state was very negative, and we didn't get a good contact. So it happens.
Now, could you tell me what it's like when you actually connect with spirit? What happens and how does it work? So someone's crossed over and you connect. What does it feel like? What exactly happens, and how do you communicate with them?
Sure, it's really an amazing feeling. Once I feel myself connecting to the spirit person, I'll feel their personality. I'll feel perhaps whether they're really upbeat, or perhaps they were, rather neutral. I'll feel what their character was. Were they the kind of person that went out and was just giving of everybody, or were they very selfish and kept everything to themselves? I'll get a sense of often their passing. Was it, a heart attack, a kidney, or was it a motorcycle accident? Just today I had a motorcycle accident where the spirit showed me an explosion. Was it a drug overdose? I've had drug overdoses where I can clearly feel the drug overdose, where all of a sudden the spirit will show me,
Wow.
we're walking along, and all of a sudden I feel like I just want to do this. And there's certain signs that you can pick up on. And as they go through all their different pieces of evidence, they'll also show me remote viewing. They'll say, or
Wow.
they'll show me quite often their house, or their room, or a special area, and they'll give me a tour sometimes of their house, or a tour perhaps of the sitter's house. Recently, I was with a recipient who was a school teacher, and their father took me on a tour of her classroom, showing us that the father was still with her,
Wow.
and saw her working with her class. And then, you really begin to learn that spirit's still with us, because they keep on coming back with us and saying, look, I'm still here with you, and here's the proof. And then they'll come through with a message, and that's the most beautiful part about it, because it's the love that they bring through. More often than not, they're showing us how much they love us, why they love us, what they're here to do. And it's just that healing aspect that helps people transform from grief to this spiritual awakening of, they're still awake on the other side. They're just on the other side of a door.
Wow. So I also get confused between a medium and a psychic. Some people do. What's really the difference there? I know you are a medium. Do you have psychic ability? What's the difference?
Well, there's a famous saying that goes, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. A medium will communicate with a discarnate spirit entity,
Okay.
but a medium, by definition, is using their psychic abilities,
Got it.
clairsentience, clairvoyance, etc., to contact the discarnate entity. And they use their spiritual power that they've built up in practice over time to create that contact. A
Wow.
psychic alone will also use their psychic abilities, which everybody's got, but because they're not using psychic power that they've built up, they're not generating that psychic power to be able to connect with discarnate entities. Psychics instead will connect with incarnate entities, you and me.
Okay.
And so it's like one's on the earth plane, one's on the non-physical plane.
Got it. All right. Thank you for that. And could you just give us a little more insight to exactly when spirit comes to you and you communicate with them? What are some of the most common messages that they actually come through to the person sitting with you? What do they usually say, or what usually happens?
That's a great question. The most common types of response and messages that spirit gives us is clearly love. That's the overarching theme that comes through time and time again. Different derivations of love, expressing that they're still with us and they're still giving us their love. That they are trying to make sure the sitter knows they're loved, but more importantly, that we are all connected and that there is no such thing as separation or duality. They get through to us the concept that our world on the earth plane is really an illusion of separation and duality, and that in fact we're not disconnected, we're not separate from one another, we're not apart from each other, we're in fact all pieces of the same whole. We're all like raindrops in the ocean. We're all connected through that energy called love, because love is a thread that weaves the entire tapestry on an endless basis. And we all come from the same source. And that's the message that keeps on coming through. And that's why we're all connected.
That's so cool. And does it sometimes happen where someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to contact my brother, my father who's passed, whatever it is," and that person doesn't come through? Can I ask, why does that happen sometimes?
Yeah, sure. Spirit's going to come to a recipient for their own agenda because they're trying to help that sitter
Yeah,
exactly where they are, knowing where that person is in their life at that moment in
because
time.
they know they're around us and they're aware of all
They
the
know.
things happening. If you're having a baby, if you're having a new job, they're aware, right? We've
They're
talked
aware.
about this.
They are completely aware. And so they're coming to help you.
Okay.
They're coming in as that's their agenda. So they're going to bring someone who's got experience with your issue. They're
Ooh,
not going to bring in somebody who's got no experience. Wouldn't make any sense.
yeah. Okay.
Uh, They obviously, let's say it has nothing to do with experience or has nothing to do with a particular issue, but it's the grief that you need to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to bring in the person who's going to help you, heal that grief. Let's say it's somebody who just passed. That's the issue. And they're
Yeah.
going to bring in the person who just passed.
Got it.
So it all depends on, their knowledge base.
Got it. Okay. And also, no, you mentioned that spirit comes to help us with their transformative love. We kind of talked about that, but can you give us some examples, if you don't mind, from your own personal experience of what you've witnessed by some of these healings from spirit? What have you seen? What's happened? Give us some insight.
Yeah, it's some of the most beautiful experiences I've seen are times when a child comes through in a reading. You'll see the mother just in absolute distress, understandably. I mean, for a parent to lose a child is the worst type of separation.
Mm.
But when a child comes through, or a young adult child comes through who has affected the entire community,
Mm.
was loved by the entire community, it's emotional on both sides. They come through, and many times they'll give the most incredible pieces of evidence that without a doubt that this
Like
person,
what?
like they'll give all the remote viewings. They'll give examples of not only shared memories, but also they'll give specific ideas of and examples of where a person has been like the prior week. Like, do you remember when you got a flat last week? I
Oh,
was
wow.
there. Or there was a time where a woman had recently lost her husband, and the husband said, I was at the memorial service and here's what it looked like. And he gave me a remote viewing of this incredible, memorial service that was so large. It took up this massive I don't know if it was like a cathedral or whatever it was, went out the door, and apparently 500 people across the country were still watching it on remote, streaming.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was like this pillar of the community, and he showed me everything inside the church. And you get these goosebumps when you hear about it. And the times when the children come through, it's the parents are just astounded as they
Yeah.
give the evidence, and they give.
And I'm assuming some people that come to you are non-believers. Some of them, family friends say, go see Chris, go see the MontClairMedium, go. And they're skeptical. And I'm sure this has happened plenty of times. And they walk
Yeah,
out of there and they're believing, right?
it's a combination.
Emotional,
Yeah.
shock for one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a combination of the initial skepticism entering into the reading, as well as their negative vibration because of their intense grief, that can so often knock a reading, from its base. So I'll start out with a meditation. I'll start out with prayers. There was one example I can think of where a mother was in such intense grief, um, and didn't even believe what was happening, said, this can't be real. So like, let's just start with a meditation. So for 30 minutes, we went through my sitting in the power meditation, which really helps us connect with spirit, made her realize that she was spirit incarnate. And she
Wow.
started feeling herself as spirit, and she could imagine herself rising as spirit. And so I could feel her shifting as we're doing this meditation, and she's really calming and chilling out. And as I was doing that, I was starting to feel her daughter
Wow.
coming through. I'm like, all right. And then we ended the meditation. I said, I think I'm starting to feel this young woman coming through. And we went on with the rest of the reading and brought through the young adult daughter. And the woman was just, I was practically in tears.
And how long does a reading usually take? Just curious. I mean, is it all depend or?
Usually people come for an hour. Sometimes they come for 30 minutes if they're not quite sure, or, depending on their own circumstances, but usually it's about an hour.
And do you ask them anything? Uh,
Nope.
no, just
Nope.
their name. And
Just
are
their
they
name.
able
Because
to ask
the
questions as
less I
well?
know,
Hmm.
yeah, the less I know, the better. And the only thing that I do is I tell them, I give them information. I say, I'm going to give you what I get. Spirit gives me all the information. And I'm just going to say, tell me if you understand the information, if it resonates, and to say yes, no, or maybe. That's
Okay.
all I want to know. And then
Okay.
it's like confirmation. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right. Great. Also, unfortunately, we're out of time, Chris.
Oh,
But I want to ask just two more things. I know your book. You got to bring up your book quickly, and then the one you're working on. Okay.
yep, yep.
Best-selling author. We can get your book at Amazon. Tell us a little more about it.
Sure. It's called Spirits Beside Us,
Mhm.
Gain Healing and Comfort from Loved Ones in the Afterlife. It remains a bestseller in multiple categories, has been there on the bestseller list for about 3 months now.
Right.
Um, and I'm already working on another one. Spirit's pushing me to do another one. Fans are asking me to do another one, so I'm like, all right, I guess I got to write another one. So now I got to start thinking of some new topics to put in the mix.
Oh, that's great. Well, we have so much more to talk about. I mean, this is just the
We
start, and
do.
we've had some great conversations the past few months, and I'm learning so much about you, about what you do, and it's exciting for me, and I think our listeners to know that someone like you could just tap into spirit, and it just makes me feel better, and I think a lot of people feel better knowing that their loved ones are there, whether they're like right here, wherever they are, they're around us, and it just
Right.
makes me feel good and comforted, and so you have a good job. You make people feel good, and I want to thank you for that. uh, all right. So MontClairMedium.com, correct? And you're not moving anytime soon, right? Out of New Jersey.
Not,
You don't
no, no,
want
no, no.
your name to Nashville Medium. No, 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 no. Okay.
No,
You
no,
are
I'm not going to go
Montclair.
to the Daytona Medium. No.
Okay. And you work obviously virtual now. So anyone could give you a call, go to the website, book a session with you, even group
Right.
sessions you do as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Awesome. Chris, any last words you want to give to our listeners today?
Realize that we are all spirit incarnate, and that the energy that we are is the true reality, as opposed to what we think we're touching.
Oh, gosh. It's amazing. I think about things you say a lot during the day, and I try to contact the dead and family members and all. And it's like I try to feel it. Sometimes I do, like lights flickering, like last week. I could sense things, but I don't know how to really do what you do. Can anyone learn to become a medium, or no? It's an innate gift.
Anybody can feel the abilities, but it takes a lot of work and trust. Ultimately, yes, you can, but there's also a calling to it, and
Yeah.
it's what do you feel inside? If if you have the feeling inside, you can do it, but you got to have the passion. It's like saying, can anybody play a piano and go to Carnegie Hall? Well, yeah, but there's about 10,000 hours of work and passion and dedication that you really got to do it.
That's a
Same
lot.
idea.
All right, good. Chris Lippincott, MontClairMedium.com. Any other contact information you want to add here?
If people want to give me a call, they can call my cell at 201-578-6020.
Great. And by the way, you missed it before. My son snuck in the shot. When you watch it later, you'll see. So don't think it's like a spirit. It's my son crawled into the frame before. So I didn't want to interrupt our flow. All right. You have a great day. Pleasure speaking with you once again, and good to actually see you. I feel
Oh, it's
more
wonderful.
interested now with you, my new friend. You have a great day. And everyone else, please stay tuned. We have more Business Talk Radio coming right up after the break.